So to play around with that, I will create a new project. So we'll use ng-new, and I will name this directives. However, I'll name the directory 02 directives, and I want to have a prefix of dir. This will create a new folder for me and set up a new project inside this. So I'll be back once this is done. So inside this newly created folder, I have my directives component here. I'll get rid of the test file here, by the way. And in this component, I want to play around with the built-in directives first. So I will go into the HTML file, and of course, or first I'll get rid of the title here, won't need that. And I'll get rid of all the content in this file. And I'll start with the built-in or with attribute directives in general. Now, some examples here would be, for example, ng class and ng style, and you already learned about those. Just to give a quick refresher, if you have, let's say, a div and you add the ng style or ng class directive with squared brackets, because we need property binding to configure this directive, and this takes a JavaScript object as input, and this JavaScript object describes which classes should be attached. So here I will have a class border, which should be, let's say, false, and background, which should be true. Now in the directives component, or in the CSS file here, I can configure both CSS classes. So this will just give this a border of, let's say, 3 pixel blue, or solid blue, so that we can clearly see this, and a background class of, let's say, background color should be green, and also I'll give this div a general styling so that we can always see it. Just make it at least 100 pixels wide, or 100 pixels wide and high. With that, if I run ng-serve to start up my server and serve the application, and navigate into it first. So now ng-serve to start it up. If I reload my page here, you can see that we got this green box, but we got no blue border because border is set to false. Therefore, the border class is not applied, which would be the class adding this blue border. So now I set this to true, and with that, if I reload this, or it reloads automatically, of course, you see that we got this blue border around this. So this is how you can use the ng class directive. Now for ng class, there's also another way. If you only want to add one class, let's say the background, you could replace this and use property binding. Now this is no directive what I'm using now, to bind to the class property, this default DOM property class, this class attribute each HTML element has, and then with dot, and then the name of the class border equals true, you can achieve the same, or with dot background if you want to apply the background. So this is a little shortcut Angular 2 offers you, and this isn't really a directive. This is native property binding with, as I said, a little shortcut in here, but this would achieve the same. However, ng class is the directive. ng style, which you also already saw, works pretty similar. It also takes a JavaScript object for its property binding. And here we have the name of the style, so background color. Don't forget the single quotation marks if you're using it with a dash here to, well, have a working name. Otherwise, this won't work without single quotation marks. And then, well, which background color? So let's make it red to see a difference. Looks good. So these are attribute directives, and there are a couple others, and you will see them throughout the course. For example, when we reach forms, where we will also build in attribute directives to manage them.